This right here is the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7X. It's definitely got a fancy name, but an even fancier configuration. After all, this version is rocking Qualcomm's Snapdragon X Elite processor, 16GB of LPDDR5X memory. We also got a nice large 1TB SSD, Qualcomm's Adreno GPU. Additionally, we do have Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.3 standards on board, and this is a gorgeous 14-inch OLED 3K panel. Now, there's a lot to talk about this laptop. I've been on a spree with reviewing ARM-based laptops for Windows lately. It's been a wild ride. So let's see how this version of Lenovo Slim 7X stacks up against the competition. Surprisingly, from a packaging perspective, the Yoga Slim 7X actually comes in some pretty basic cardboard packaging, but once you open up the box, inside behind some more protective packaging, here it is, the Slim 7X. What a piece of work. More on that in a minute though. We also get this petite 65-watt charging adapter with a Type-C connection, good to see. You also have the standard wall outlet charging cable piece, and then finally some basic documentation. Lenovo has absolutely nailed the design with this machine. I mean, look at that crisp, sleek form factor, those linear edges, symmetrical look, and just very modern business-like appeal. The Slim 7X also has one of the best choices of colors I've recently seen on a laptop. That navy blue color truly complements it. The build quality is also very premium. In general, you've got a full metallic exterior top to bottom. The laptop does have a overall weight just north of 2.8 pounds, putting it in line with most other 14-inch devices. Starting with the top side, like I mentioned, a clean metallic exterior here. There is some degree of fingerprint resistance, but they do eventually catch on after a while, and then you'll notice there's some subtle branding in the center. All the I/O ports can be found on either side of the laptop. So on side 1, you've basically got two USB 4 Type-C ports, both of which have power delivery as well as DisplayPort 1.4 functionality. On the other side, one more USB 4 Type-C port, again with power delivery and DisplayPort. You'll also notice you have the power button as well as camera shutter switch over here. The only thing really missing here is the inclusion of a SD card slot. It would have been a nice quality of life upgrade, but other than that, it's pretty standard port diversity. The bottom side of the laptop, again a clean metallic exterior. You'll notice you have a nice long linear air intake vent with a dual fan setup. You also have two speaker grills, one on either corner, so it is a quad firing speaker setup. We'll do a sound test later on. Unfolding this laptop presents you with an absolutely eye-pleasing palm rest. I mean, just look at that navy blue color just melt right across the entire inner chassis, that metallic exterior, again, that premium feel. This thing is so well executed. The inner geek inside me is really on fire, as you can tell right now. Anyway, at the center you have a nice large trackpad, plenty of surface real estate. Unfortunately, you still do get a plastic surface finish from what I can tell, which means you do have a minute amount of flex, but it's not too bad. Also, the clicks are pretty tactile. I don't think it's the smoothest feeling trackpad of all the laptops I reviewed. That would go to the Asus VivoBook S that I reviewed recently, but it is a pretty good trackpad overall. The keyboard here is equally as impressive. So you've got nice large keycaps with a easy to read font. You'll also notice that the keyboard layout has definitely improved compared to previous iterations of Yoga laptops, and I also love the fact that the keyboard has a strong degree of backlighting built right into it. Unfortunately, you won't get a 10 keypad here given this is just a 14-inch laptop, though you do have two speaker grills, one on either side. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on in the video. And then as far as the typing experience is concerned, you'll be happy to know you have an ample amount of key travel. There is a good degree of tactility with a little bit of softness, ultimately making for a very comfortable typing experience. We have a well installed single piece hinge mechanism here. There's practically no screen wobble at all, which is quite impressive, and it glides really smoothly as well. As far as display fitting is concerned, you do have a bit of a noticeable chin at the bottom when compared to the likes of Dell's XPS series, for example, but then the side bezels are nice, narrow, and clean. You'll also appreciate you have a pretty thin forehead at the top. You have a bit of a bump at the center, which contains a full HD webcam with a built-in IR scanner. The display definitely was an important factor of consideration, and I've noticed this trend to be pretty common with all the Snapdragon laptops reviewed so far. I mean, Lenovo has included a high quality 3K OLED panel which looks stunning to the eyes. You've got a 16:10 aspect ratio. Unfortunately, this laptop only has a 90Hz refresh rate compared to 120 that seems to be more standard across the board. Now you will notice you have a peak brightness of up to 500 nits with SDR content and up to 1000 nits with HDR content, which is absolutely amazing. You do have a glossy finish display here. It's also worth noting you do have touch captivity built into this display, something that isn't quite prominent on some of the other laptops I've reviewed. And then finally, as far as color rating is concerned, you have a 100% sRGB rating, you have a 93% Adobe RGB rating, and a 100% DCI-P3 color rating, allowing for some fantastic colors and making this a great choice for creative purposes. Still here, I'm so happy to see that. If you guys are enjoying the content, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video. It's just me and myself making all this content, so when you hit that button, it truly gives me the motivation and energy to continue making more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for your viewership. Let's carry on. A quick rundown of the specifications. So we've got Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite processor, the X1E78 to be more specific, which is technically the lowest tier Snapdragon X Elite processor you can get. So it doesn't have the dual boost technology some of the higher tier ones do. You also get 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory here, and it's worth noting we have the Adreno GPU, which is technically Qualcomm's integrated GPU over here. Now, as far as configurations are concerned, you can also max this laptop with up to 32 gigabytes of memory depending on where you are in the world. Day-to-day performance is going to be a smooth experience, whether it's surfing the web, doing online banking, or typing up a Word document. More demanding activities like programming and code compilation, again, a very smooth experience thanks to the ample amount of horsepower and system memory. Now, when you try to do more demanding activities like video editing, for example, so I found that compared to other ARM-based Windows laptops that I reviewed recently, this machine does a much better job with full HD video editing, even with multiple layers. There's a little bit of frame drops here and there, but it's not too bad and it's a viable experience. However, anything higher than full HD video editing, this laptop starts struggling, which means it is slightly behind when compared to similarly spec'd x86 processors right now. Now, in the gaming department, things are not too good, and this is the case again consistently for all the ARM chips we've seen for Windows recently. So games like Counter-Strike 2, for example, have about an average of 30 frames per second with frequent frame drops when running on this machine, similar to other ones. And when you compare to similarly spec'd Intel and AMD processor, that's about a 50% performance gap. Those machines consistently hit well above 60 frames per second with similar graphical settings. Now, I am well aware this game is being translated, so you have a little bit of overhead performance gap, but 50% is a pretty dramatic number. So if you are going to be getting this laptop for some casual gaming, you might be better off sticking with an x86 processor, at least for now. The Snapdragon chips absolutely kill thermals in a great way. Even with peak workload conditions, we hit a maximum average surface temperature of just about 37 degrees Celsius, with a more realistic sustained load hovering around 34 degrees Celsius, which is cooler than any x86 processor based laptop out there right now, bar to none. Now, in the fan department, same thing. Despite having a dual fan setup, the maximum noise level peaks at around 42 decibels, though you rarely hit that number. With a more average workload, you won't even hear the fan on most of the times, which is again dramatic improvement compared to previous generation Yoga laptops. Self-upgradability options are very limited. In fact, the only component you can technically upgrade is the existing M.2 drive. You have a total of one slot that accommodates a 2242 drive with a maximum capacity of up to 1 terabyte. This laptop features a nice peppy 70 watt-hour battery. Based on our real-world use case tests, we got all the way up to 14.5 hours of runtime on a single charge. If you told me these numbers a year ago, I would have called you insane. Absolutely amazing efficiency. Now, as far as speaker quality is concerned, you've got a quad speaker setup, and it's definitely really crisp and clear. It's not going to be as good as the likes of the MacBook Pro, for example, but definitely a decent experience. Here's a quick sound test for reference.
Okay, we were alright, staying awake till the sunrise. We were in love, couldn't stop us, like a good drug, never run. We hook up in my car, driving so far, play your guitar, you show me your heart, let down our guards, think with our hearts, stare.
With a $1,200 price tag for the Slim 7X configuration we have here, the fact is this is very much a premium tier machine. However, Lenovo gets so many things right here, whether it's a decent I/O port selection, a great keyboard and trackpad, or that stunning 3K OLED panel, which has a slightly limiting refresh rate, but that's not a deal breaker. These things are just well executed. The build quality and design here is also top notch, second to none when it comes to other Snapdragon based devices that I reviewed so far. Now, I will say, as far as performance is concerned, When you're doing high or heavy demanding activities, you are going to find that your traditional Intel and AMD processors still do slightly outclass these machines, especially when it comes to stuff like video editing and casual gaming. But efficiency is your priority, then there is no better alternative than these Snapdragon chips on Windows right now. You've got great battery life, amazing thermals, and if general productivity with high efficiency is a priority for you, I can wholeheartedly recommend the Slim 7X for you. Let me know your thoughts on this machine. If you like it, let me know what it's been like for you, if you already own it, all of that stuff. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the like button and sub to our channel. It genuinely helps us grow. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.